Hello, everyone, and welcome to Exploring Consciousness. And the subject today is the oneness of awareness. And I would like to explore together with you how we can rest in the paradox of non-duality. So I've already introduced you to the practice of recognizing awareness. And the way we've done that is basically to separate awareness from its objects. And this method is very effective in recognizing awareness, but it's not the complete step. So that's what I would like to try to do together with you today, to first shift into the recognition of awareness, then rest as it, and then explore how awareness is one with all phenomena. And as always, before we do that, it's always a good idea to relax a bit first, to create some space, to allow the busy mind to settle down. So maybe you would like to adjust your posture so you sit comfortably. Even if you're laying down, it could be a good idea if you have a somewhat straight back. It's important that you are comfortable, but not so comfortable that you fall asleep. If you fall asleep, that's also fine. That just means you have a sleep debt to repay. So just make that shift by checking in, looking into your body and noticing how the energies are moving around. Maybe you would like to focus on a particular area that feels stuck or contracted. And see what happens if you, in a kind and gentle way, just breathe into that spot. Not to make it go away, but as a gesture of friendliness. And if your mind is busy, agitated, full of thoughts, then a good way to ground yourself is to pay attention to the body. You could do a body scan where you go with your awareness from the toes to the top of your head. You could use the breath as a support to do that. You can pay attention to the palms of your hands. Breathing into them, letting go. Do whatever practice you feel comfortable with, whatever works for you to shift and relax and to be more present in the moment. And notice if you have the feeling of being up in your head, sitting there and looking through your eyes and looking at the rest of your body. If that is the case, then investigate and try to relax that sensation. See if you can melt into the rest of the body, so you're not just viewing the body from the head down, you're actually inside your feet, inside your hands, inside your heart, to see if it's possible for you to relax in such a deep way that your sense of self can cover your entire body. You could try, if it works for you, to descend from the head down through the body to the trunk, and then just rest there on the cushion, letting yourself be carried. So just give your entire weight over to the surface you're lying or sitting upon. Let it carry you, hold you. So if you feel comfortable with that, then I would like to invite you to, in your own way, to recognize awareness. What does that mean? So see if you can notice the aware presence in your experience that knows the sensations in the body, that knows the thoughts you're having right now. And it's the same space that hears this voice right now. To see if you can Recognize that silence through which these words are coming from, traveling through, and arriving at. You could ask yourself the question, am I aware right now? And for a moment, you just pause and you look. And then from your own experience, you would say, yes, I am aware. So just notice that awareness. So this way of recognizing awareness is like looking up into the sky and then pointing to it by saying, look, there's the sky. It's that blue space which all the clouds are arising and dissolving into. So just like that, look, there's awareness. It's that knowing space in which all your thoughts and emotions are arising and dissolving in. Just notice that. And if it's possible for you, then you can also shift. You can shift your sense of identity from the small cloud of yourself to the big cloud of awareness. Just shift your sense of identity by knowing awareness as that which is prior to all experiences. And just observe the appearing and disappearing of phenomena inside your mind and body. Pay particular attention to the sense of I. That could be anything. It could be a thought arising, it could be a contraction in your heart or your belly. It could manifest in many different ways. Just see if you can notice the sense of I, and then observe it as you would any other object, as awareness itself. So be the sky, that boundless, open, radiant, transparent, knowing, which is always present in every moment, in every experience. Now, in this method, we've separated awareness from its object, just like we would separate the sky from the clouds. But now I would like to invite you to see this separation as illusory. So it's made up. So clearly, awareness and its objects have different appearances, characteristics. So for mind, it's easy to separate the two. Awareness being objectless, empty, and nothing, really, is easy to separate from everything else, because it's the one thing in your experience which is not a thing. So, but knowing this, resting as that, now pick an object in your experience, like a sensation in your body, an energetic contraction, an emotion, pain, discomfort, maybe a pleasant feeling, and just observe it. Hold it gently in awareness. Go deeper and deeper into it. Just shine the light of awareness on the object. What happens to the object? So relax. So don't use effort, focus, or concentration. Just allow the natural capacity of your mind to direct itself onto the object of your choice. And let everything else just fade into the background. And if your mind wanders, gets hooked by another object, just return gently. Return to awareness. You know yourself as awareness. And then you just observe the object of your choice. What happens to the object? See if you can drop all labels. Drop the thoughts you identify the object with. Drop the stories and just go straight into observing the object. Being open and curious. Without expectations. Like you were looking at it for the first time. So what happens to the object? Maybe you noticed that it was moving and changing, taking on different forms and shapes. Maybe you noticed that it dissolved. Maybe it unraveled and opened up energies inside your body. Maybe nothing happened. We can discuss after the meditation. You can share your experience. So the idea I would like to introduce you to now is that awareness and its objects do not actually exist like the sky and the clouds. They just appear to be that way. In reality, they are more like the water, the ocean, and its waves. So no matter what sensation arises inside your body, no matter what thoughts you're having, no matter what emotions are arising, or what energy is passing through your body, even no matter what matter or physical objects is in your presence, they are all actually in the nature of consciousness or awareness. They are one. They're appearing as distinct, separate objects with their own functions and qualities, like a wave in the ocean appearing to be separate from it. But in reality, they are one. They're of the same essence. They're of one nature. They have the same stuff. And I would like to read to you a quote from His Holiness the Dalai Lama from a very special book. It's called The Heart of Meditation, Recognizing Innermost Awareness. Really great book if you're interested in these kinds of meditations. And here he writes, sorry. Innermost awareness pervades every type of consciousness. No matter what kind of consciousness we might consider, the clear light of innermost awareness pervades it. Ice, even when it is solid and very hard, does not pass beyond the nature of water. In the same way, no matter how gross, tough, or coarse conceptions might be, the place from which they dawn and the place into which they vanish, when we no longer think them, does not pass beyond innermost awareness. Conceptual awareness appears from within the sphere of innermost awareness and finally dissolves into the sphere of innermost awareness. So if His Holiness is saying it, then it must be true, because he wouldn't make something like that up. But it's not enough for us to believe it just because he says so, or if no matter who says so. Even if the Buddha would come and say this, we would need to investigate and examine if these words were true. So that's what we need to do in our meditation, to look, okay, the space where these sensations are coming from is, as he says, innermost awareness. And the place they dissolve back into is also innermost awareness. And like ice, no matter how tough or contracted we may be, or how difficult or painful a sensation is, even if it's anger or confusion or jealousy or all these things that we would see as not awareness is actually awareness in the form of energy or emotions or thoughts. Like ice is in a solid form of water. Another example using water is if you take a drop of water from the ocean, it will appear to be separate from the rest of the ocean. But when it goes back into the ocean, it becomes indistinguishable from it. So the separation is illusory because they are intimately one. And when they melt into each other again, they become inseparable from one another. You can't take a drop of water out from the ocean and put it back in and take out the same drop of water again, because that drop of water has become one with the entire ocean. So much like that, if you have a thought, the thought arises and falls within the sphere of innermost awareness. So even if you would think the same thought, it wouldn't be the same thought. But the thought itself is in the nature of awareness. So I hope that makes a little bit sense. And if not, if it just confuses you, then that's also great. It's good to be confused by this, because thinking that you understand this and that you get it, then you haven't really understood the whole part yet. So this is not something we can totally grasp conceptually. This is something we need to experience in meditation and in daily life. Okay, do I have something else here? Yeah. Another example of the oneness of awareness and its objects, we can use the example of a screen and an image. So right now you're looking at a screen and you're seeing me, but can you separate the image of me from the screen you're looking at? So right now you can't see the screen because it is permeated by the image. So the screen is interwoven with the image itself. We could say that the image is happening on the surface of the screen. But if there would be no image, then the screen would be blank. So we could say there would be no screen. So, but the screen exists no matter what image is on it or passes through it, even if there is no image. But the only reality to the image is the screen. So there is no image, there is only the screen, because the image is a modulation of the screen. So the colors and the movements as I'm moving my body back and forth and the images changing, that's the colors and the pixels shifting. So it's the screen that's changing. So how does that sound? Now, I would like to give you an example from quantum physics. And as Westerners, that could be a great place for us to look if we want to understand emptiness and oneness. So quantum physics has proven that there is no such thing as solid matter. Everything we call today matter is 99.9999% empty space with atoms, molecules, and protons floating around. And that 0.0001% matter, if we zoom into that with the most powerful microscope we have, then we can't find any matter there either. We find a kind of light emitting from it. So that's what quantum physics has discovered. So that may sound a bit like something coming from a science fiction book and not something that's scientific. But if we look into this and we try to implement this into our mind stream, like, okay, so the things I'm seeing, the floor I'm sitting on, the roof I'm looking at, my couch, all these things are not as solid as they appear, because actually they're empty mostly. They appear to be solid to the mind, but when investigated closely, we can't find them. We can't even find atoms if we look closely enough. The more we look, the less we find. Sorry, I forgot my phone. A great example of this is the double slit experiment, where they shoot an electron, which is the tiniest piece of matter, and they shoot it through a tube, which has a grate with two slits, so two openings. The electron can fly through. So there are three possibilities when they shoot the electron. So either it goes through the first slit, or it goes through the second slit, or it goes through neither of the slits because it hits the grate instead. So they put a piece of paper behind the cannon, and then they shoot the electrons one by one. And so if everything as we would think it would be, then there would be two lines on the paper. That's where the electrons passed through both of the grates. And that's exactly what happens when we observe the process. So when we measure or look or observe, either with our eyes or with a machine or a measuring instrument, then that's exactly what happens, as we would expect it to. But the mysterious, weird thing is when we're not measuring it, when we're not looking at the process, when we allow the process to happen, for say, in another room, then all of a sudden a wave pattern emerges. Just like it would if the electrons wouldn't be a tiny solid particle, but would be a wave, like it would be water flowing through both grates at the same time. So that interference pattern that emerges shows that as soon as we're not observing objects, then they're no longer solid, they're floating. So what does that mean? What does that mean for us in our everyday lives, in our everyday experience of life? This is not something we can really grasp. We can get an idea of it, but even the quantum physicists are baffled by this. It doesn't make sense, but that's what happens. And it doesn't make sense in meditation when we sit and we observe phenomena and then they appear and disappear, and what seemed to be so real, what seemed to be so serious, what seemed to be so painful is no longer there. It has dissolved, it has changed, it has become something else. And then we recognize, it wasn't how it appeared to me. It was actually energy moving and transforming, and that energy is in the essence of awareness. They're one and the same, just like water and ice is the same. So I hope we are a little bit more confused now than we were before when we started this meditation. And now I would like to open the floor for you to share and to discuss, to ask questions, and and let's see what interesting things come up. So thank you everyone for listening to me ramble on. So let's share together. And for you at home, I wish you a great day.